One of Chiefs Kingdom's top priorities this draft season has been adding an edge rusher. But let's say the Kansas City Chiefs don't focus on that early in the draft. Today we will focus on some veteran key pass rushers that the Kansas City Chiefs can add to this team after the draft. And yes, they will all be former Kansas City Chief players. But before we get into any of that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's have some fun. We are 2 days away from the NFL draft. It is right around the corner. All those preparations, all those crazy mock drafts are finally going to come to fruition, and we are going to see who the Kansas City Chiefs select. And if you don't know, you should know, we will be going live on this channel all 3 days. So you want to stay in tune. Please be sure to hit that notification bell, subscribe to the channel to keep you up to date so you don't miss out on anything. It's going to be fun. It's going to be crazy. And this is like my second time going live on the channel. So it's going to be something worth watching and looking out for. So thank you all for checking in, and I can't wait to see all of Chiefs Kingdom there. With moving forward now, Chiefs Kingdom throughout this whole offseason, this free agency, draft season, they have all been focused on two positions, the wide receiver position and getting a pass rusher. Today, we're going to focus on the defensive side of the ball and focus on what if the Kansas City Chiefs don't address edge rusher early in the draft, and maybe it's like third, fourth, fifth round type of category, and maybe they have a guy in mind after the draft. There's a few guys I have my eyes out for, and they are all former Kansas City Chief players. So without further ado, let's just get right into my list. And of course, it's the fan favorite, it's the playoff hero himself, and Frank the Clark Shark. I think if you bring him back on this team, I think it bolsters this pass rush, and I think if you put him where he needs to be placed, and that's just as a rotational pass rusher, don't put him as an every down rusher. I think he can be more productive than he has ever been with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's been solely depended on as being that number one edge rusher, the guy who can complement Chris Jones, and it hasn't really worked out during the regular season as Chiefs Kingdom wants. If you just have him going in on third downs and going after the quarterback and make sure that he's not in on every down, he might fit that scheme perfectly and look very, very good with it. I would welcome Frank Clark back. I think as a rotational pass rusher, you have George Karlaftis, you have Mike Dana, and they will draft guys. Let's be real. But at the end of the day, they're going to add that veteran guy come training camp, come July type of time to where, okay, now you get it going and now you get a solidified D-line. And also, you get that veteran playoff experience too, because at the end of the day, that's what the Kansas City Chiefs are here for. They're here to compete and win Super Bowls. And when Frank Clark shines, it's that playoff season. He knows how to bring the quarterback down in playoffs and in Super Bowls, and that's what you are bringing him in for, and I think he's worth that just alone. But also, let's say if he comes in on a cheaper end deal, maybe you bring in someone at a cheaper price as like a Carlos Dunlap. Now, I don't know where Carlos Dunlap is in this point of his life to where he won a Super Bowl. He may want to walk off into the sunsets and call it a career. Or he may want to run it back, and if he does, hey, come back to the Kansas City Chiefs. He basically checkmarked everything on his list that he wanted to do when he signed as a Kansas City Chief. His first thing was, one, be a great rotational pass rusher. That was one, make sure he had all the playing time. Two, was make sure he got his 100 sacks, which he did. And then the third one was get that Lombardi, which he did. I would be ecstatic to see if Carlos Dunlap would come back, and then you can basically get two for the price of one. I don't think Carlos Dunlap would be that expensive. I do believe he would be cheaper than someone like Frank Clark, even though I don't think Frank Clark will be that expensive as well. But if you can bring both of them back, then you have a good draft to where you don't have to focus early and heavy on in the draft for a pass rusher, but third round you can get a guy, and then you have George Karlaftis, Mike Dana, maybe you can draft another interior guy. You already got Charles Omenihu as well, and then Chris Jones. People are sleeping on this defensive line. They were second in the league in sacks last year. There's no reason to be concerned if they can get after the quarterback. I think that is honestly a mind-boggling thing that people want pass rushers. And I understand. Pass rushers are a beautiful thing to have, and it's always good to bring the quarterback down. But the way Chiefs Kingdom talks about it is like, we were dead last in sacks last year, which is far from the case. So I'm happy where they stand at now, but they most definitely can bolster the team. Also, I got two more guys to talk about. And I said they're all going to be former Kansas City Chiefs. So why not discuss Melvin Ingram again? Yes, it's a fun name to talk about. And honestly, I don't think it's that unrealistic as well. He had a very solid season with the Miami Dolphins. He had 6 sacks last year. He looked explosive. And it's funny with these veteran pass rushers. It seems like once they age like fine wine. They get better and better. And that's just the case with Melvin Ingram. He had a good stint with the Kansas City Chiefs after he was traded from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we all wanted him back. And honestly, the Kansas City Chiefs did what they could to bring him back. They put a tender on him back in July, and the Miami Dolphins matched that, and he ended up signing at the better price to fit him. And at the end of the day, it's understandable. But now that he's a free agent, and let's say they can't bring a guy like Frank Clark back, and maybe Carlos Dunlap retires, why not kick the tires on Melvin Ingram again and see if he wants another round in Arrowhead? I think it would be fun. He didn't get a chance to bring home a Lombardi. Now would be the time to do it. Get a ring on Melvin Ingram's finger. And also, he is a great rotational pass rusher, just like the other two I mentioned. All these guys are going to be great, solid rotational pieces. And I think Melvin Ingram is that guy where you just bring him in and he goes after the quarterback. He goes in the backfield and stops the run. That's what the Kansas City Chiefs and Steve Spagnuolo are looking for. Just someone who can occasionally bring the quarterback down and help the growth of guys like George Karlaftis, Mike Dana as well, and whoever they bring in through the draft. I would welcome Melvin Ingram to this team. The only question is, his number 24 jersey is taken away by Sky Moore, so does he wear that 8 jersey, that Kobe jersey in red? I don't know if that happens either because Justin Ross is on the team. So it's going to be interesting to see. I know we talk in jerseys, but Melvin Ingram's 24 was just so fresh on the defensive side of the ball. And I love that it was for Kobe. And then now the 8, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, but I would most definitely welcome Melvin Ingram back as a Kansas City Chief. And then to cap off this video, y'all are probably thinking, okay, he's going down the line of former Kansas City Chiefs players, and they are really good rotational pass rushers. And this one, we are going to step at the edge of the tree branch, hanging on a limb, but why not go after Justin Houston? I don't see what's wrong with it, specifically at his age. What is he, 34, 35 years old? And he is another one that is just aging like fine wine. He had 9.5 sacks last year. He is someone who, if the Kansas City Chiefs were to go back to a Super Bowl and he was on this team, I would solely want him to have a ring. He's been through some of the dark ages as a Kansas City Chiefs players, through one of the most roller coaster rides you can experience as a Kansas City Chief. And if he could cap his career off with a ring and retire as a Kansas City Chief, that would be such a beautiful story. But as I mentioned, it is far stretched. I don't see him coming back as a Chief, but I would sure as hell love it. I would love to see Justin Houston back, and he would be a great rotational pass rusher, and it would just bring all of Chiefs Kingdom the memories that once was when he was dominating offensive lines, when he had over 20, I think he had a 22 sack season and almost broke Strahan's record. Man, Chiefs Kingdom would love to see that again. Not saying he's anywhere near that by any means, but if he's still getting 9.5 sacks at his age 34, 35 season, the dude is dominant, and he definitely should be in a Chiefs uniform. And I would love to see it. It's unrealistic, but it would be crazy to think. But Chiefs Kingdom, just because the Kansas City Chiefs may not draft a pass rusher early, which is not what I'm saying, because they can still get one in round 1. But just be patient. If it doesn't happen in round 1 or round 2, maybe even round 3, just know there are guys on the market, and Brett Veach has a plan. And if he wants to go back to some of these older former players that can contribute day 1, don't be shocked. But with that, we are going to close off this video, and man, I'm excited for the draft. It is literally right around the corner. We got like 2 nights to go, and then it is live. It's going to be so much fun. I can't wait to go live with you, Chiefs Kingdom, and just have fun, discuss pick by pick. It's going to be crazy weekend. With that though, please be sure you subscribe to the channel. If you did like this video, please give me that big thumbs up. Y'all take care. Peace.